So the second episode of Reveal's BattleLab season 1 dropped in the past week or so. It's an incredible forum where we test and experiment with new technology in the context of small unit maneuver, tackling typical tactical scenarios with a combination of tech in a force on force environment. And this is a pretty good one. It's called Contested Exfiltration. It kind of pits one team against the other one, outfitted with next-gen drone tech and a variety of other things. The other trying to move through the battle space and defend, and one's on offense, one's on defense. It's a lot of fun. It is streamable on Vet TV with our partners over at Vet TV, and we are supported with our partners over at JEDOC. But this is a Reveal-led, call it thought leadership and experimentation forum that we hope to expand in future to include lots of other partners and new technologies and new scenarios and all kinds of stuff. But it's, in my view, a pretty great piece of content that I think everybody should be consuming. Dave, you and your family sat around the fire last night, drinking hot chocolate with whipped cream, watching TV, and I think you streamed for your young children BattleLab Season 1, Episode 2. Give us some hot takes.
It's not like I designed it that way. I was watching it. And, my wife came by, and then she took a look and got interested. And then my oldest came by and took a look and got interested. And then we ended up all sitting around and watching Delta Force operators and plate carriers attempt to destroy each other with modern weapons. So I think this is going to be a thing now in the Cuddle household when a new episode drops.
This will be a big surprise, but we have very different home lives. Cut to Simon in the dark on the couch by himself watching Game of Thrones. Very different vibes. BattleLab's great. It's not how I spend my evenings.
I'm in the middle of a rewatch of Game of Thrones myself, and it's
you got to watch the new stuff.
I can't, as we discussed.
That's right. You want to binge it.
Yeah, I'm a binge person. I got to wait until the season is complete so that I can at least consume a full season in one night. So, Dave, what were the moments in that episode where your kids got most excited? Where the family was like, did they stand up? Were they yelling? What was going on?
They really like anytime a drone does something. They really like any effects of a smoke grenade or a flashbang, that sort of stuff. Just the loud noises and the door kicking sort of action. I mean, I think like reality TV a while ago tried to delve into the tactical, like let's do tactical games sort of stuff. It never really took off. It always seemed a little cheesy and corny. But I think that's sort of the way that they're watching this. It just feels a little more real and visceral.
Yeah, I don't want the kids.
I don't want to undersell it as reality TV, although that is, I suppose, the category it falls into. I think it's pretty darn real. Like imagine a military training event where you and your team, your squad, your platoon, whatever, you're trying to like run through some lanes and up your skill level and figure out how to synchronize new technology into your TTPs. That's what this is. It just happens to be caught on camera, and then we do live feedbacks, and there's a little bit of a scoring mechanism so that learning can occur and we can measure it. And I think it's pretty powerful. So anyway, for viewers out there or prospective viewers, get onto Vet TV. I think you might be able to find it on other streaming platforms. We've also got a number of pieces of content dropping on short form, shorts, and whatever else in other social channels like YouTube, LinkedIn, and others. So give it a follow and check it out. Okay, welcome everybody to the Goat Rodeo Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett Smith, and I'm joined by regular co-hosts Simon Kuhn and Dave Cottle. We all work at a company called Reveal Technology, the Warriors Prime. We are the rising prime contractor for the tactical edge ecosystem, and we are defending the West, gents. We are defending the West. Today, we're going to cover a number of topics. We usually start off with some geopolitics. I have a few quick hit items touching on Iran, Greenland, nukes. Then we're going to move on to a recently announced drone dominance program, and then move on to a couple of other items. Golden Dome is a recurring topic now that the Trump administration is backing missile defense here at home. We might pull on a Greenland thread there. Who knows? We might reference something that is being called acquisition theater, which I think is a build out of innovation theater. And then finally, we'll talk about the state of affairs with the U.S. government and the shutdown that's in effect and how that potentially impacts us going forward, very specifically with DHS. But let's start off with something slow-moving, boring, and totally freaking scary. The end of the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, the New START Treaty, it expires tomorrow at the time of recording, or today at the time of the podcast actually dropping, February 5th. And this is the first time in 1972 where there is no legal framework for preventing escalation in the buildup of strategic nuclear stockpiles. Now, here's the one item that I'll say before everybody gets really freaked out. President Trump is indicating that he is interested in not just an extension of an old or perhaps outdated treaty framework, but wants to build a new one that is improved and has to include a new entrant to the nuclear game over the past many, many decades, which is China, which I think makes some sense. So, Simon, tell me why I shouldn't be scared and ducking under my desk.
Yeah, there's actually already so many nukes to end the world several hundred times over, and you can't end the world twice, 3, 4 times. So having 6,000 missiles or 12,000 missiles, who gives a shit, is generally how I think about this. I guess the only risk in like having psychotically more missiles is that increases the chance that you lose one or something. But to your point, President's point, there's several countries with nukes that are completely unacknowledged in any way and are beholden to no treaties, no laws, and are not even publicly acknowledged. So, if we're going to have some sort of warm blanket of international law, it should probably include several more countries that are building and have nuclear missile programs.
So the Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT) framework essentially prevents much of the world from proliferating and sharing nuclear technologies that can be weaponized with non-nuclear states. My understanding is that the lapse of this treaty might result in some of those aspiring but not yet nuclear states to make a run for the bomb, so to speak, claiming that the lapse in the New START treaty or this framework actually breaches the NPT in certain ways that no longer holds much of that non-nuclear world to that non-nuclear status. So yes, there are a lot of nukes. No, we don't want more necessarily, but we definitely don't want more in the hands of nefarious actors or unstable regimes, right?
Sure. I mean, I don't.
Sure.
I mean, let's.
It's pretty lackadaisical, Simon. You know, you live near the nation's capital. Like, you're on the list.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And have always, but had been on the list long before I was alive.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to get more scared? I'm already at the place where they're going to shoot the nukes. The country that has nukes has subs in the water with nukes that can hit the places we don't want them to hit. It exists.
Of the three of us, I'm going to go ahead and say that Dave is probably the safest in his geographic location in northern Michigan.
All of our ground-based strategic deterrent is near you. Simon's next to the national capital region, which is like ground zero. I live next to nothing of national like infrastructure importance whatsoever. There are no targets here.
There's no scenario where they nuke the missile fields. For the record, that's a waste of a target. If I really wanted to kill 5,000 people instead of 12 million, I'd start shooting things at farms in Montana where the missiles are.
Well, on the topic of nukes and states that we don't want to have nuclear weapons capabilities, let's talk briefly about Iran, which at this point is analyzed to have quashed or is in the process of quashing popular uprisings and demonstrations, potentially with detention numbers in the range of 40 or 50,000 Iranian citizens, and that the Iranian state security regime has killed something like 3,500 to 6,000 people. I don't know if that's a middle of the road estimate or if that's a high estimate or a low, but the question I think in the media circles that I run in is why aren't we intervening? And I think there are plenty of reasons for why we wouldn't want to intervene, but this is a frail, potentially dying theocratic regime, autocratic regime that is potentially facing down its maybe its last protest and popular uprising. What happens next?
First of all, why on earth would we intervene? I don't get that argument. I mean, Sudan, 500,000 people have died in Sudan in the last 2 years in their
Yeah,
civil war. You don't
yeah.
you don't see us rising to send troops there. It makes nothing better. It's a asinine, especially after having watched 20 years of the global war on terror, to think that like that what they need now is the 101st. That'll fix it.
Yeah,
Grow
right.
up.
Yeah. Interestingly, the EU just this week or last week designated the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps a terrorist organization. Welcome to the fight, EU. We've been facing down IRGC activities in Iraq and Afghanistan for a long time. Friends of mine were killed in Iraq and Afghanistan from IRGC terror networks that were operating inside Afghanistan and in Iraq. And thanks, EU, for finally catching up. Sounds like your bureaucratic mechanisms finally allowed you to grow a pair and join the right side of the world here. But
What makes them terrorists and not just a enemy army?
I think it's that they are directly funding, operating alongside, training, and equipping actual frontline terror organizations like Hezbollah, the militant elements in Hamas, the Houthis, right, the asymmetric terror and insurgent organizations in Iraq, Afghanistan. That they are exporting. They are the focal point of Iranian export of terror. They are the organizers, the managers. I think that's what it is, right?
Maybe.
You don't think they are?
Sounds like proxy war. Sounds a lot like proxies.
In other words, would the reverse maybe criticism be the American CIA should also, on those merits, be a terror organization?
That's I'm just wondering. There's a lot of friends of ours in Syria that I'm like, man, what's the difference?
Yeah, sure. Does this open up some sympathy to the Erdogan government in Turkey that has a persistent multi-decade problem with the Kurds, right? So it's a yeah, I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder, right? The terrorists,
It's
terrorism.
New Start all over again, dude. Legal framework for a thing that already exists. Like, oh wow, you've finally wrapped words around the people that we've been shooting at for
So I think
20 years.
what it allows you to do is to buy this designation within whatever jurisdictions, legal frameworks, the EU, the US, whatever. You can then impose legal sanctions that are, in accordance with the imposer's domestic legal frameworks. I don't know, Simon. The IRGC is bad, dude. They're bad.
I'm not saying that they're good. I'm just like, what is the EU doing?
Can't
here?
believe you're defending the IRGC, man. I cannot believe it.
I'm just a big fan of living your truth. Say it with your chest. Be what you are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully Iran doesn't get nukes, and hopefully good things come of that. Hopefully New Start results in something. The expiration of New Start turns into something good that prevents nuclear holocaust from happening. Let's talk about Greenland.
Thank God.
So the Greenland crisis. I swear there's a tie-in here. The Greenland crisis, as it's being called, is weird. It's weird. And it's weird because the United States and the West already had all the access it could ever want to Greenland for basing, for strategic deterrence, for monitoring, the Arctic and other stuff. That being said, I suppose I understand the 19th century impulse of the United States to manifest destiny, right? I understand it. That doesn't mean I agree with it, but I think that's part of it. Also, just kind of dominating and controlling and upping the pressure on NATO is in line with the Trump administration's kind of thing. But after kind of a buildup of tension during the World Economic Forum, a sidebar to the World Economic Forum, I think President Trump and NATO leadership had some kind of meeting, and then the United States explicitly indicated that it would not pursue military options for exerting influence on Greenland, which, thank the Lord, because I worked alongside Danes in Afghanistan. I don't want to all of a sudden be fighting the Danes. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense.
That could have been our first opportunity to go to war with a National Guard state partner participant.
On which side?
Well, no, we have an official partnership with the Danes, military to military.
No, this is what I mean. Like, would you have the 101st kind of like executing, airfield seizure?
Just don't know that we've ever fought any of them.
Hold on.
Since the creation of the program, of the list of militaries that we consider state partners for our Guard.
Totally. Here's what I'm saying.
Fight one.
How crazy is this? You send in the 82nd or the 101st to do like big airfield seizure and nuke. The Danes are resisting. We have a partner arrangement between our National Guard and the Danes. Which side are our National Guard?
Yeah, we send the Michigan Guard
to both sides.
Greenland against the 101st. That would rock.
That would be just the most confusing thing ever.
States are sovereign, man. They got governors. The tag serves the pleasure of the governor.
So I suppose that's true. So the reason why there's a tie-in to the previous two topics, Iran,
Greenland also can't have nukes. Is that where this is going?
So the concept of a deal that President Trump has proposed includes a Golden Dome kind of joint or combined missile defense capabilities based or staged in Greenland, which again ties back to the New Start nuke stuff. We don't want any of that. So anyhow, Golden Dome, we'll reference that again in later in the conversation. Anything else to say about Greenland? I've been wanting now lately to go to Greenland just to go check it out.
This will surprise no one. I never want to go to Greenland. It looks very cold, and I don't like leaving my house, so it's off the table.
Two comments on Greenland. The first is it feels like this is a negotiating chip that's now on the table that will probably resurface at some point.
Yeah, sure. Everybody suspects that's what it really is anyway. And then second to y'all's joking about the state partnership program. The last state partnership program thing that I did was using U.S. military folks to train the Danes to defend against a Russian airfield seizure. And the signal chat from that event with our Danish partners has been funny and concerning over the last 3 months or so. So I'm really happy that we're walking back the tension. Well, let's walk back the tension and let's not go fight the Danes. And hopefully this thing gets back on track. I think it's a big negotiating lever. I think later this will be traded for something with the EU, with the Danes, with NATO. I don't know, something. It's a thing. This is in my mind classic Trump. Okay, let's talk drone dominance.
Finally, time to dominate the drones. They've had their way for long enough, and now we're going to turn the tables.
So we referenced a drone dominance item a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Owen West's appointment to as the incoming DIU director. In his time at OSD in the Doge apparatus, he actually was the drafter of the document, the drone dominance document that I think underpins this kind of topic, this trend. And now there's $1 billion plus of resourcing going to a very definitive, or at least somewhat definitive program called the Drone Dominance Program. So walk us through it.
I think Dave's going to have to walk us through it because I don't understand and I have complaints. Dave, take us away. I know you saw the solicitation early on.
Yeah. It was actually, in comparison to, we're going to talk about Golden Dome, in comparison to Golden Dome, the solicitation was actually extremely clear. It said you will be able to produce X volume by X time, tested, evaluated, U.S.-based manufacturing. The weighing and measuring that's going to happen here is if we are pressing the I believe button, that you can produce thousands of these things and tens of thousands of these things on our aggressive timetable. So prove it. So the list of 25 vendors, most of whom are predictable that they won the first series of awards, are folks that we've seen building out some infrastructure, U.S.-based infrastructure to be able to produce at that scale and volume. The solicitation was extremely clear. You will produce me 100, then you will produce me 1,000, and we are going to incentivize you all to build out this infrastructure by promising we're going to buy $1 billion worth of drones. And we saw industry move out.
So we saw the solicitation or some of the formal announcements occur in early 2025. And what's happening now is we're entering a first phase of operationalizing or execution. Dave, I'm looking at this spreadsheet here. This first phase, which is from February to July of this year, target volume is 30,000 units at $5,000 max price per unit. Is that tracking with what you've seen?
Yeah, that tracks. And I think I don't have the solicitation in front of me, but I'm pretty sure the delivery one is like March.
Okay.
I mean, they have to. No. There was never any scenario here where you could bid this thing, win an award, and then figure it out later. You need to be prepared to produce them and deliver them to the United States government extremely quickly. So it had to be already firms that had figured out their supply chain, had manufacturing space. This is not I'll get the award and then figure it out later.
I am looking at the schedule here. Second phase, or phases 2 and 3, is projected to be late 2026 with an increasing target volume of delivery with a decreasing target unit price. In phase 4, which is 2027, is to reach like a production run rate of 150,000 units at no greater than $2,300 per unit. I mean, this is interesting, right? That isn't quite the not even quite. Quite's not the right word. This is nowhere near the volume and price point that the world's drone laboratory is producing in places like Ukraine. It's nowhere close, right? They're generating millions of drones at much lower cost than that. But this is at minimum a step in the right direction. I don't know how you're seeing this.
It doesn't match the world's volume because there's still some Uncle Sam compliance parameters there, right? On what you can and cannot have in your supply chain.
I'm also not totally sold on this idea that we need to match the Ukrainian volume right now. The Ukrainian volume is
It's wartime volume.
based on consumption. Yeah,
Yep.
like we're gonna have a
you're right.
million drones on the shelf to do what? We don't even have enough troops to know how to fly them to burn through 1 million in a year at this point.
So here's the interesting analysis that I would be doing if I was hopefully the drone dominance program office, like the folks that are worried about cost, schedule, and performance and acquisition movements here.
Yep.
What is the overlap in the supply chains for those 25 awardees? Because it doesn't matter if you're buying Black Rifle coffee or whatever your version is, your coffee beans are coming from the same predictable 4 places. And I have a strong suspicion that of those 25 awardees, when they take a serious look at their supply chains, those critical components that are not Chinese made, they can only come from a few places. I'll bet you there's really significant overlap in the components that are being made, that are going to be delivered in March.
I mean, the list of awardees here is fascinating, both for who was included and who was omitted. Because you have, larger mids like Kratos, but you don't have, notably AeroVironment's not there. AeroVironment's been making drones and been in that space for ages and ages. Anduril's not on the list. Shield AI is not on the list. Teal is listed, but not Red Cat. I don't know that I was under the impression that we were calling it only Red Cat now. Yeah, but I think there's an interesting distinction that the award says Teal. I'm like, wait, how does that work? I don't know. It's fascinating, and then there's obviously like a lot of new upstarts I think we're all seeing recently. Neros, Firestorm, of course, is there. It's interesting. It's an interesting list. I don't understand also where it goes next because it's DIU, it's TRMC,
Yep.
and Crane, but it's happening at Benning, so it's going to be an interesting thing to watch, I think.
I maybe I'll cap this topic off with an unrelated Trump admin official statement that I found to be fairly compelling over the last year. Secretary Phelan, so this is Secretary of the Navy Phelan, as part of the stand-up of the so-called Golden Fleet initiative. So this is reconfiguring and accelerating shipbuilding for the United States fleet. He's instituting zero tolerance accountability for schedule slips, more aggressive timelines. He said all of our shipbuilding programs are a mess. We need to ratchet people, productions, and systems. And then kind of a capstone comment. We cannot spend too much time measuring the problem or admiring it. We need to fix it. We need to get faster. This is all Secretary Phelan. It seems to me that there's a general shift in attitude, which we see as a very positive one, which is let's stop planning and actually get executing. Let's get our production back in line. Let's generate the volume. Let's get into the 21st century definitively. Let's not let bureaucratic morass slow us down. So again, not directly tied to drone dominance, but this I think this admin trend or vibe shift, call it what you will, toward acceleration of technological innovation uptake, I think is a positive one. Now we need to see it actually happen. I am hoping for good things here. I hope that we satisfy the timeline for drone dominance. I think this would be a really great signal to the market that the U.S. is serious.
So I'll use this to transition us to what I think is probably the next logical topic here. I think that the very clear communications about the intent of drone dominance, the schedule, the budget, I think it incentivized and motivated industry to start doing things. Supply chains, manufacturing spaces, like they started seeing industry make movement to chase that $1 billion of opportunity space. I think in contrast, that's not been the case with Golden Dome.
No.
As clear as the solicitation was for drone dominance, I am still confused about how Golden Dome is going to work, and how it's going to be executed, and how this is going to go. And I think most of the defense industry is as well, because I don't think I saw the defense industry move out and start building space-based interceptors.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Golden Dome, you saw $23 billion get appropriated through reconciliation. Little to / none of which has been spent. And I know that everyone that's sort of in our space, in this kind of upstart community, has been watching the Shield IDIQ conversation, where 2,400 companies have submitted and been accepted into this IDIQ that has issued no task orders and has like a $1.5 billion ceiling. And I saw it referred to as such on LinkedIn. It looks like theater. It's hand waving. The Space Force is saying they're going to demonstrate a space-based interceptor by 2028. Built by who? What are we talking about? It is the exact opposite of what Garrett was just describing from this admin. This idea that like, oh, we're going to move fast and clear signals. Like, there's resources, significant resources, sitting in the bank, and none of it seems to be getting spent on anyone at all. It's bizarre.
I don't understand the 2,400 company IDIQ. That just boggles my mind.
Just put Owen West in charge of all of it. Maybe that's the maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're cautiously optimistic about Owen West in the director's chair at DIU and what he delivers over time. I'm optimistic, but let's wait, Simon, before we start assigning him a bigger and bigger portfolio.
Well, my question is, who's in charge of Golden Dome?
Yeah,
I mean, I take that back. It is the director of Golden Dome for America is Space Force General Michael Gutlein, who is the person that I was referring to when the Space Force said that they're going to have a space-based interceptor by 2028. But aside from knowing, I mean, he was the vice chief of space operations at Space Systems Command, and now he's the director for Golden Dome for America. I'm sure he's doing something. There's no way that man's not going to work and working very hard, but I can't imagine how much they're going to try to get done in 3 years. They've got 3 years, right? I think we have to assume that when the administration swaps over, at some point it will swap over. It may not be 28, but eventually, law of averages. And can Golden Dome survive a change in administration? That's another one I don't know. I would think they'd want to be spending all this money as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the faster you spend it, the more kind of like inertia the program gets, the harder it is to kill, all that stuff. And
dig in.
Yeah, dig in. Yep.
It's not. What he's not going to do is piece together components or ideas from 2,400 IDIQ awardees.
That's
or
crazy.
do 2,400 prototyping efforts.
That is.
I mean, he's gonna call Elon Musk and RTX and two others and say, hey, who's got a design?
He has created the single most annoying LinkedIn catnip in the history of LinkedIn. I've had to watch 36 companies just in my little sphere talk about how they want a Shield IDIQ. I'm like, hire someone to do your marketing. Do not announce that you're in the Shield IDIQ. Stop it. Seek help.
Well, hold on.
It's not good press now. 2,400 companies? That's not good press.
Who are they marketing to, right? Who are these very young companies marketing to? Most very young venture-backed companies or aspiring venture-backed companies are marketing to the investor community, which is honestly fairly low information at some level, and most of the folks who are defense curious from an investing thesis don't really have like a super deep understanding of
I'll name names on
here's
this
an
one. I saw an investor post a picture of his dog and said, "My dog just won the Shield IDIQ as a participant."
that's
It was a
great.
very cute dog. It was a Malamute, but I was like, even the investors know it's out of hand. 2,400 is crazy number.
Well, I won't defend all of it. I'll just say, if that's all you got, like you got to mark it on something. You need to,
Sure.
if
If
that's
I'm
all.
in drone dominance, though, I'm definitely running press. Like I'm on the list of 25. That feels like impact, right?
So we have heard this new term being thrown around. We used to talk about innovation theater as a pejorative for all the agencies, labs, or whatever that would like innovate in air quotes here, innovate, and then talk about how much they're innovating and beating their chest for being innovative and all of that stuff. And that there were actually very few builders and deliverers of values. Simon, tell us about this new term,
I mean,
acquisition theater.
we've been chewing this without really putting a term on it for weeks now,
Yeah,
but there's this massive wave of reform in acquisition, and everyone wants a piece of it. Everyone wants to be seen as a fast-moving acquisition authority now. And to be clear, if you pick 25 companies and you're going to spread $1 billion across 25 companies, that is fast, interesting signal to the market. If you're going to spend 1.5 billion on 2,400 companies, that is not. That is you trying to show and generate press when nothing has happened. And then that
sure.
is a perfect use of the term theater. And it's a fascinating contrast that both of these things are happening from the same administration. And I think it goes to show people, especially when we have conversations about the PAE restructuring, is that the left hand and the right hand of the government are going to have two very different results. And so you got to get to know the people in your foxhole with you.
Well said. Simon, since you're on a tear, you're on a rant, you're on the soapbox, stay up there. DHS might shut down forever. Or is that not the news that I saw?
So, well, we're not currently in a shutdown. DHS has a CR until next Friday,
Right.
which is already nuts because I have no idea how Congress is going to come to an agreement on DHS funding before Friday. But I do think that we're headed for a really painful DHS shutdown. And I generally think it's better to be pessimistic about these things because I prefer to be pleasantly surprised than negatively surprised. But I don't see many viable off roads politically for immigration policy. And as such, you're going to see a lot of federal funding get hung up on this. I mean, DHS funds TSA, it funds Customs and Border Protection. There's a ton of non-essential stuff. FEMA, non-essential. You'd think it's essential, but it's going to lose funding. FEMA employees are going to get furloughed. They're going to go home. It's going to make us less ready for a disaster. So I think not only from the perspective of like companies participating in selling to the DoD who rely on a lot of air travel, but also just your life. The disaster hits, you're going to see like a much less coordinated and capable federal response if DHS is shut down for an extended period of time. And I expect it to be. I don't see an off ramp politically for anybody here.
That obviously has like massive implications for those of us who treat the DHS or generally the non-DoD federal agency set as a market of interest or opportunity or whatever. Yes, sounds like personal lives will be disrupted, I suppose, significantly. What's to be done? What's your recommendation, Simon? What are the? I mean, seriously, like what is
Yeah.
what is like what's the resolution? Like what happens here? How does it play out? Let's say that. Hold on. Let's say that there is a positive outcome. Like it gets. Oh, I don't even know what that is. Maybe you should start out by defining what a positive outcome would be. But something that isn't, shut down interminably. What does that actually look like, and how do we get there?
So that's a partisan question in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The Democrats are going to put forward a list of things that they want to see policy wise as it regards immigration and immigration enforcement. And if those demands are met, that's one way to just get off the X and fund DHS for the remainder of the year.
What would that look like? What are the key kind of like policy demands that the
They
Democratic.
they haven't released it yet, but it's expected that it will include things like body cams for ICE and Border Patrol agents. They for sure want to see federal agents operating without masks on, which you are going to see a lot of pushback on because people get doxxed, and it is a difficult. It's difficult to do an unpopular job in the age of the internet.
Yeah.
You think you're going to see proposals for special warrants, like creating a whole new structure of judicial warrants as it relates to immigration, which will make it harder to do immigration enforcement. So you're going to see pushback there. It's going to be like a wish list, and you're not going to see much support within the GOP. None of these pills are going to be easy to swallow, which is why I think it's going to be such a challenging fight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As far as what companies can do and what people can do in the event of a shutdown, our last big shutdown, you kind of got to the point where TSA had been unfunded for so long that we were about to hit major disruptions to air travel because they make TSA work. They just don't pay them. And TSA started walking off the job a few months in. And you're going to see that, I think, much faster this time because they just went through 4 months of not getting paid. So once those people started walking off the jobs, you saw this much larger pain points and politicians came together. But now you're going to have constituencies competing with each other. Like no one on the left is going to get off the X of something has to change with ICE. Yeah, and you're seeing this, like even in Minneapolis, Tom Homan's up there doing the Lord's work. He is committed to fully drawing down the presence. He's removing 700 officers. He just announced that today, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to continue to enforce immigration policies, but we would like to draw down the surge of federal officers. I don't want my border patrol agents in Minneapolis. I want them on the border." So I am cautiously optimistic about Tom Homan, like getting control of the situation from that perspective. But boy, it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of Tom Homans in the world looking for solutions.
Well, Dave, we're in the process of spinning up a kind of a reveal push into non-DoD federal agencies as a market of interest. We already have some traction there, but what does this kind of like 2026 outlook mean for you and the greater reveal team as we're thinking about expanding, not expanding into an umbrella agency that may or may not have funding or may or may not have like personnel in the coming.
Fortunately, I think the impact to us is relatively low, right? I mean, there's two projects, there's two projects or deals, if you will, that'll be held up or stalled that we've been, trying to do with DHS for a while, or they've been trying to contractors fund us to do. That has relatively low impact. Obviously, the catastrophic scenario is the one that the real impact is what Simon described. If commercial air travel starts getting disrupted or there's impacts on our abilities for our customers to move, me to deliver capabilities that I'm on contracted to deliver, show up on time for scheduled milestones, test events, that sort of thing, that would be catastrophic. Like if there's an impact, if there's a serious impact to commercial air travel, that would be catastrophic. However, DHS takes a pause and then come back in the game. Relatively low impact, a few deals, a few projects or programs held up.
It's also interesting to think about the potential use of technology and technology product, say one of our products, in a politically charged, even controversial context like what we're seeing with ICE in Minneapolis, as an example. So I don't think I've got any prescriptive advice here, and I'm not going to proclaim some like magical pathway forward that threads all
I'll give you an interesting point on that. I just saw some posts from the left recently talking about OpenAI and interaction with ICE.
Right.
Simultaneously, OpenAI just signed a petition demanding tech out of ICE.
Yeah.
It is it's bedlam right now.
Yeah.
Like the people have not even figured out who's on what side.
It's really delicate. And it's becoming hard to ride a very fine line.
Right.
Because I mean, in these conversations, your customers, the DHS folks, the citizens of these places, the Americans, everybody has taken a side. They desperately want to know what side you've taken or assume which side we've taken. And it's really delicate. And we're riding a really fine line as the technology provider or as the vendor. But I think riding that can increasingly fine line well. I mean, it's insane to me when Simon and I got on this call before we kicked off. It's insane to me that my choice of Super Bowl halftime show selection is now turning off half of my audience.
Right.
Right. Like
Right.
I can't even talk to our customers about watching a halftime show without that being a political statement, which
Yeah.
is it's hard.
I think it's I'll say this from a hopefully principled stance. I believe, and we attempt to imbue our company with the same ethos, that the national security space should be nonpartisan, or maybe at worst bipartisan, um, and that we don't view any of this through a political ethics lens. But these are troubled waters. I'm going to. You already said it's a fine line we got to walk. I'm going to say troubled waters. I'm also going to say it might be impossible to thread all these needles. Let's throw a bunch of idioms in here because it is.
I'm your foxhole.
Exactly.
Stupid is as stupid does. That's true.
Yeah. So, so I think this is nearing like impossible to navigate. Right, like
that's
impossible.
precisely how I feel about the DHS fund. Like it is becoming sort of the boil that needs to be lanced, and I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll see what comes, and we're doing our best to be an ethical, moral operator in a nonpartisan space that shows every sign of getting charged with partisan energy. So, I am optimistic about things resolving in a good way, but it fraught for the moment. Okay, well, fellas, who wants the last word? We got about 90 seconds before we wrap.
What's Turnpike?
What's Turnpike Troubadours? You're not, God, Dave, listen to anything. Listen to some music. Music continued after Waylon Jennings. It didn't just stop.
Wait, what?
Like, there's more of it out there.
I have the same playlist, but I have the same playlist still that I put together before I started having children.
Massive band in the country music space that I know you are familiar with.
Turnpike Troubadours is a big country act? What?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
It's red dirt country. It's like it's one of the three most famous types of country.
I'm going to go investigate, and I'll report back on Turnpike Troubadours next podcast. I will do this.
Sure.
Dave,
I
won't
just put out a
speak
whole
for you,
record
but
with a deer on the front of it. I don't know how many
Dave,
hunting motifed albums outside of country exist.
I'm gonna go do a little bit of research, and you don't need to do anything. I'm gonna hit you with a few bullet points that you can pretend.
Yeah,
I got this.
Well,
thank you.
I'll feed you the bullet points so that you can sound like you too are expressing interest in Simon's lifestyle and affirming his life choices. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us on the Goat Rodeo Podcast this week. I wish you well, and here's to a new start.